News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, with you till the top of the hour. Thanks for joining us, folks, on this Sunday morning. Got a great show, a lot of great questions for you. We start by introducing Randy Rocky, who's with Swan Financial. And if you need a loan, this is the guy and the company to go to, Swan Financial, 645-0736. And then if you're looking for a closing attorney, I cannot recommend anyone higher than Lee Harris over at Limestone Title and Escrow. You can reach Lee, who, by the way, is legal counsel over there. You can reach Lee at 649-7964. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
And if you're thinking about selling your home, well, I'm the one who I'd love to be able to come out, either talk to you in person or by phone or via Zoom. And it's a free, no obligation consult just to talk about what the process is and how to get you to the next step. And also, if you're looking to buy a home, I've got 10 agents who are ready to help you find your next dream home. So you can reach me anytime at 376-5483, or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com. Coming up a little later on this show, you know, a lot of people are thinking about doing some home improvement projects since they're not thinking about selling right now. Well, you may be interested to find out which home improvement projects will bring you a better return when you go to sell the house. So we'll talk about that in a bit. First, let's start off with Lee Harris. And Garrett wrote us this email. Lee over at Limestone, he says, my HOA is harassing me over my backyard. He says, I'm an amateur woodworker in my free time. Apparently, my stock of barn and fence lumber is offensive. To the tune of 120 plus lot restrictions and other fines imposed by this fine HOA institution. And he's wondering, what are his options in fighting them, Lee?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Garrett, I'm sorry to hear that. Sometimes HOAs can be mean to their members. The first thing to do is to get, if you haven't already, to get a copy of your bylaws and master deed and rules and regulations and anything that governs your particular development there, and look to see if there's anything that talks about you can't stack wood or you can't do certain types of projects such as woodworking in your yard, etc. That seems to me a pretty specific thing not to be able to stack, because a lot of people have, firewood stacked and things like that. So if they cannot point to a specific prohibition in your documents that have been passed, then they really can't fine you for something that's not included there. If it is somehow included, then I would take it to a meeting. The board, the HOA board, is supposed to meet on regular basis, and I would take it to them and plead your case and try to either get a special dispensation or a relief from these fines and come to some sort of a resolution where you can enjoy your property as you see fit.
Yep, I think you bring up a really good point, and a little one step further for everybody who's listening. If you live in an HOA or condo association and you're planning to use the property or do something that's a little bit on the outside of norm, it might be worth it for you to get those covenants, conditions, restrictions, and then if you notice it's not in there, to try to ask for some sort of, a dispensation to be allowed, Lee, to
do they could change the rules. They could always change the rules. The rules are not set in stone for eternity. Sometimes they need to be changed or updated or amended based upon the needs of the members.
There you go. So just take that as a tip if anybody's thinking down the road you want to do something that might be a little different. All right, Randy, we're going over to you. And by the way, we're still in our COVID show. I know it's crazy. We're still in COVID show, so we do this via Zoom. And then what happens is we upload the show to YouTube, and you're able to see it. And if you want to see it again and rebroadcast of it with video, so you can see what this beautiful dress Lee's wearing with a lot of these white and colored circles.
Thank you.
Go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com. And to get a look at our reviews, go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. We're very proud of our reviews. Randy, Sophia wrote us, and she says, I want to buy my first home, but high mortgage rates, yeah, we know, and very few homes, yes, we know that too, have exhausted me. But she's wondering, how can she get a home and be prepared to purchase her first home? When should Sophia, is what she's asking, actually start the process of applying for a mortgage as she goes down the road of home ownership?
Right now, and I think it's the time to buy. And the reason I say that is the pent-up demand is astronomical now. And when rates drop, Kay Schiller, who is the appreciation guru, home appreciation is going to be up at least 5% this year, and he's expecting 7%. And supply and demand, as you well know, Bob, is still at 38% nationally, or what we need to not make it a buyer seller's market. So my point is when rates drop, there's going to be so many more people get into the game. Yes, there will be more houses listed. But right now I think it's the perfect time to do it, because then you can refinance when rates do drop. So I would start right now is what my suggestion is.
And I'm correct in saying that Swan is offering a free refinance when rates come down one time?
Yes, no closing costs.
No closing costs, right, yeah. So take that into consideration. By the way, Sophia, there's a new report out. The first 6 months of 2023, roughly 14 of every 1,000 U.S. homes changed hands. That's down from 19 of every 1,000 during the same period in 2019. It's the lowest turnover rate we've seen in a decade. So Randy is so correct when he says there's a lot of pent-up demand for purchase. And better to find your dream home now than to wait. I just read a report that's going to go out in our feed in a couple of days. I think it's 11,000 homes. I think it's 11,000 homes change hands every day, go under contract in this country. So, wow. And I did the numbers locally. I think I said there's something like 68 homes that go under contract here in Louisville every day. So it's still a hot market. The key, folks, if you are looking for a home, you have to, I'm sorry to part-time realtors. I apologize in advance for saying this, but the key is you need to be with a full-time realtor, and also probably one step better is to be with a team, because here's what happens. A home is going to come on the market and may pop on the MLS, let's say at midnight on a Sunday night, right? Your best bet, if that's the home for you, if that's going to fit all of your needs, you need to be ready to go Monday morning, 9 a.m., into that home and write an offer. So the first thing is you go to a place like Swan, talk to Randy, get a pre-approval letter, so you've got that. But then you go with a realtor who's got a team. So if there's some reason that realtor is already booked, they've got somebody on their team who will help you get you into that house. It's that simple. You got to jump. It's not any question of waiting. It's right now when it happens, because that's what's going to get you the deal that you want for their dream home. All right. We move on over back to Lee Harris over at Limestone with the next question. Again, we're still COVID show, which means if you've got a question, email it to me, bob@WeSellLouisville.com. Put radio question subject line in the body of the email. Just send me the question itself, and we're more than happy to read it on the air for you. This one comes from Jennifer, who writes, my recently purchased condo, along with the entire building, is infestated with fruit or drain flies. I know this almost sounds like it's a job for Brad Lawler and his new team bug out group, but she's wondering, the maintenance company is refusing to rectify the situation, and so she's wondering, Lee, what recourse can Jennifer take if they've got a problem and the maintenance company is not willing to adhere or fix it?
Well, you certainly have a right to live without an infestation of any kind of critters in your house or your apartment. So the first thing is to send written notice, give them a certain time frame to fix that matter. If they don't, within that time frame, then you can take to another legal step. One is to, did you say she was in an apartment?
He said it was a condo that she bought, a recent. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, maybe the condo has a maintenance company, but I would first approach the condo board with the letter, correct? Approach
the board, yes. She could work on withholding her condo fee until it gets taken care of, or going again, setting up a meeting with the company, with the board to address the issue. And then if she has to, taking the next legal step. If it's under $2,500, you would go to small claims court against the board or the management company, whoever's responsible to get that taken care of.
Okay, good steps. Hopefully, at this point, Jennifer, this helps you a little bit. All right, so this next question, I'm going to handle it, but both Randy and Lee, I'm going to ask your opinion here up the top. Tammy writes in, a number of months ago, she heard us talk about the ways to stack dishes in a dishwasher. We've gotten so much feedback from how do you stack dishes? We may end up doing this story again down the road here because it's got that much play, a lot of people talking. So she said she's wondering, what about silverware? Is there a right way and a wrong way to put silverware in the dispenser or what holder for the silverware while washing dishes? So let's start with Randy.
Okay.
Like he loads a dishwasher, right?
Yeah.
Like he goes near.
I can't wait to hear.
Yeah. So Randy, what's your thought about loading silverware in the dishwasher?
I would
you
assume
talk to Tracy
that,
and she does it, right?
Yeah,
His wife Tracy.
But I would assume yes. But most of the time, I mean, I'll help her on dishwasher when I can. But what I would assume is that knives probably need to be down.
Look in the camera when you're talking to us.
Yes,
yeah. Because we want to see your eyes if you're telling us legit here, right?
The knives need to be down because if you slipped while you were putting the dishwasher in, you could poke yourself.
Okay, good. All right, good start.
And I really don't have any other.
No, okay. Lee,
comments.
Thoughts?
I like to have my forks and my spoons up because I feel like they get more attention from the water and the soap that way because they're not hidden behind that grate. That's probably not the legit thing, but probably none of my dishwashing stacking or anything is legit. So
okay. Listen, all right. So here's the answer, and maybe everybody's got their own way of doing things, but this is the answer we're going to go with, at least for the show. One position is that this is according to Leslie Reichert, who's the cleaning coach. I don't know that I've ever heard of the cleaning coach, but okay.
Wow.
She says she grew up with her mother insisted that the silverware was put in handles down, so when the utensils were rinsed and dried, the drops would roll down to the handles and not leave spots of the food surfaces of the silverware. And she says, as for sharp knives, she puts those facing downward. So what she's saying is the spoon part and the fork part face up, and then the sharp knives, Randy actually got something right here. This is really good. Facing down. But folks, most major dishwasher manufacturers, and by the way, the folks over at GE who I know listen to the show and who actually called me the last time we did the dishwasher, they said, hey, let us know. We'll come on the show. I go, okay, but I don't have a number to call. So you're invited, GE. So the dishwasher manufacturers agree on one thing: load knives with the blades down and the handles sticking up for safety's sake. But also, this is importantly, dishwasher manufacturers say placing silverware handles in the upright position, right? So the fork and spoons are facing down. Avoid transferring germs from your hands to the eating surfaces of your silverware when you grab the silverware to pull it out after washing it to put away. That makes a lot of sense.
Does make sense. Yeah.
It does. It really does. So, okay. So now we know handles up for both the knives, but also up for the silverware, the forks or the spoons.
I'm very disappointed. I got one up by Randy on the dishwasher.
Yes, I know. And I have a feeling all of Louisville and Southern Indiana are all upset that Randy has gotten a one-up on Lee Harris. All right. We're going to take a break. When we, sometimes, listen, you have to have a little fun in this world, right?
Yes.
When we come back, home improvement projects that might not bring the return on dollar that you will expect. With us continuing, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, 6450736. They do a great job of getting you pre-qualified and qualified to get to the loan. And then to get the closing done, Lee Harris, Legal Counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow. You can reach Lee and the group over there at 649-7964. And remember to ask for those cookies at the closing table. And then if you're looking to think about selling your home this year, next year, or beyond, I would love to come out and talk with you and at least give you a path without any cost or obligation, talk about the process, what to expect, and that gives you a really good idea of how to plan. And then I've got agents as well if you want to help you to buy the home. But I'm the guy who you'll talk to, who you'll see if you're thinking of selling. You can reach me 376-5483. You can also start the process by going to bobsellslouisville.com. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. We're here with you till the top of the hour. Thanks for staying with us, folks. Continuing with us, Lee Harris, legal counsel over at Limestone Title and Escrow. You can reach Lee for your closing of your home. They do a great job over at 649-7964. Also, if you're thinking about buying a home, a great place to start with your financing needs for your mortgage, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, 645-0736. And if you're thinking of selling your home, I would love to be able to help you, at least talk to you about the process. Free, no obligation. All you need to do is give me a call on my cell phone, 376-5483. And we also have a free, no obligation booklet with 150 plus steps to getting your home listed and selling for more money. Send me an email, bob@wesellouisville.com. Put selling tips in the subject guide, and I will send it out to you via email ASAP. All right. We're talking about home improvement projects. You know, a lot of people are saying, well, with interest rates the way they are, Randy and Lee, we're just going to stay home until things start getting a little bit better and more homes come on the market. So they're thinking about doing some home improvements. Well, be careful on the improvements that you're going to think about making. Zillow did some research, and there's a remodeling cost versus value report in 2023. And Zillow looked into some of the features, and according to Zillow research, into paint color, for example, preference of home buyers, a white kitchen can actually hurt a home sales price by more than $600. Instead, buyers prefer, now I'm not sure I agree with this, they prefer, you want to take a guess, Randy, Lee, what color?
Yellow.
Okay, Randy?
I will do yellow.
Okay, well, gee, he's going to make sure he doesn't lose. Here, I got that strategy. Lee, whatever you say, he's just going to copy it, right?
Yeah.
No, Zillow is saying that buyers prefer dark gray tones such as charcoal and graphite.
No.
Not from my perspective, but okay, that's Zillow. Adding a walk-in closet, Zillow's research into home listings show that a walk-in closet can hurt a home's value by 7.7%, a relatively small amount, but an indication that it might not be worth the cost to add space where you can see all your clothes. I'm not quite sure I'd buy it, but I'm just a purveyor of this information. The addition of a deck can open up all sorts of opportunities for entertaining, or it can serve as something of an outdoor room, but decks don't pay for themselves at the time of sale. According to Remodeling 23 Cost versus Value Report, a wood deck costs about $17,000, but the home improvement does not add value overall. It only adds $8,553 at the time of sale, a return about half of what you spend. The cost is even higher for composite materials. You know, the composite stuff, it's under a 40% return. And then turning your garage into a bedroom, okay, surveyed by Zillow, folks for consumer housing trend reports have consistently said they want a place to park their car. So by removing the garage and making it into a bedroom, it could eliminate some potential buyers and hence affect the price that you would get when you try to sell. By the way, one more thing, an in-ground pool can set you back $23,000 or more. $23,000 seems like it's relatively inexpensive if you think about it. Mm-hmm. According to home services website Thumbtack, didn't even know that existed, which calculated the national average cost of installing a pool over the last 4 years, adding in fence and landscaping, and you're looking at an investment of nearly $30,000. But if you're a pool person, you know, I've said that people will beat a path to your door if you have a pool at this time of the year, especially into the August where you're able to use the pool. So I would not be so concerned about it, but you may or may not get the full price back when you sell your home. Those are some of the reports from Zillow. Randy, back over to you with questions over at Swan Financial. Jim is buying his first home. He has a lot of questions about the process. His big concern, he writes in this email, is if mortgage rates, he gets to the closing table, he buys, and he doesn't like the terms of the loan. Can he choose not to sign at the closing table? Lee, you may want to jump in on this as well. Randy.
Yes, you can. Obviously, there's ramifications with the person selling the house if you didn't close, but yes, you can absolutely not sign the documents if you do not want to.
And Lee, what are those ramifications if you're sitting at the closing table and all of a sudden you say, I don't like what this says in the mortgage, and you start to walk away? What can the buyer do to you? I'm sorry, the seller do, because you're breaking the contract?
Well, certainly it's on the buyer to, obtain the money to come to closing at a certain time per the contract. So if it's a matter of maybe they didn't do their due diligence or look over their paperwork beforehand, or even when they were applying for the loan, then they could be in breach, especially at the time when they're at the closing table. So the seller could have damages such as they're already maybe moved, they got another place they got to buy in an hour, and they might be defaulting on that contract. Everything is kind of a train that goes down, a lot of cogs of that wheel that could stop if one person doesn't close. So there could be damages as far as, if they aren't able to sell their house for as much. There could be real estate commissions. There's a lot of damages that can happen to a buyer if they default on a contract. So I guess that's a cautionary tale to look at your paperwork well before closing to make sure you're happy with your terms.
And back to you, Randy, that paperwork is provided well in advance of the closing?
Yes, the CD is well in advance. It's 3 days before you have to sign the initial CD, which is not usually the final closing disclosure, but you have plenty of time to look at it if you have the proper lender you're working with.
Got, which in our case, we would suggest Swan be the lender that you're working with. By the way, if you want to see rebroadcast of the show, go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's a rebroadcast, takes you to our YouTube channel, LouisvilleAnswers.com. And also, if you want to see what sellers are saying about us, the Sokoler team, I've got a lot of interviews, more than 100 interviews with past sellers. You can see them and listen to them at LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. That's LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. All right, we're going back over to Lee Harris at Swan Financial. Kim writes in, she's considering buying her first house, but she does not have as much money as her mortgage company tells her she needs. And she's wondering about a lease-to-own home. What are the concerns that she should have moving forward? So lease-to-own, there are not that many out there, Lee, that we know of. What concerns, and I've got a couple of things as well. Go ahead, Lee.
Okay. Well, lease to own is basically you're a tenant for a certain amount of time, and then usually you're going to have an option to purchase the property either in a year or 2 years, whatever your lease term is, for a certain amount of money that you're agreeing upon now. You have a right to buy it then for that amount. Usually they're going to require a down payment, some kind of large, and it's usually non-refundable. So that's one of the pitfalls is if you ultimately cannot buy or do not want to buy, you may have already put down a non-refundable deposit to the owner of the property. There are some benefits, obviously, if you need some kind of more time to get your finances in order, or if you need a down payment, and you give a little more time to save up, there's obviously benefits. You get in a house, you're not getting the same tax benefits, obviously, because you're a tenant for that time frame. There's certainly issues where what if the seller doesn't pay the mortgage and your property gets foreclosed on?
Yep.
There's always that any kind of danger until you actually hold the deed yourself that other people's issues, not paying the taxes, not paying the insurance, whatever it might be, could affect you and your bottom line. But it is a viable way to get into a house if you have the right terms and the right property.
And Kim, here's what I would tell you from my perspective as a real estate agent, that in this market, as hot as homes are, there has to be a very unusual reason why the seller, the owner of that home, is putting it up as a rent to own as opposed to just selling it outright. And it could be that the home backs up to power lines, a freeway, a water tower. It could be other problems, noise, or that the house has some severe problems. So I would suggest if you do that, go in with your eyes wide open. If you're not represented by an agent, you want to be represented at least by an attorney to review all the documents that you're going to sign. I think that's a really important thing. Do not skimp on this, because there has to be a reason. Not saying that it's one or the other. I'm just saying you got to go and be careful, because there could be a hidden problem that's going to affect you down the road. All right, we're going to go back to Mr. Rocky over at Swan Financial. By the way, if you want to see some of the videos we produce for our buyers and sellers and just in general for the media, go to LouisvilleHomesTV.com. And by the way, you'll see the breakout of these questions on there as well. I was talking to Lee about that before we hit the air here. We've got a lot of questions that are accumulating on this for our channel. So they're all coming from our radio show. All right. So Randy Powell wrote us this email. He says, I recently inherited a house. The mortgage lender said I have to fill out an application because it's required to determine my ability to repay before the mortgage company will let me take over the mortgage loan. So he's wondering, what's the story on that? Again, he inherited a house. What's your thoughts?
Well, it depends. Some of them, they just keep making the payment, and they're on title. And this is kind of the way it works. The other ones, they make you refinance in your name. So obviously there's a lien on the property. So that would be, to me, the two options: either you refinance or you continue to make the payment. And
Powell's actually saying that they're making him, I guess, refinance and not continue making the payment. They're not giving him that option.
Well, you are, and Lee, you can weigh on this, but I think that legally you can make, if someone is deceased, you can make them refinance the loan. Is that correct?
Right, because once you go through probate, or if you don't even have to go through probate, say it's given to you, then you are the owner, and the person who may have been previously on title, the lender may say, well, that person's no longer around to pay this, so we don't feel as comfortable because we can't foreclose on someone who's deceased, you know, and so they want the skin in the game of the person who's actually the owner now.
So, Lee, do you see it both ways, where some people just keep making the payment and some? Yeah.
Oftentimes, yes. A lot of people go ahead and sell it too because they don't want to make a payment, you know.
Which is where I was going to go with this for Powell. And that is, so you might consider just selling the house, because obviously you'll get a cash. Hopefully there's going to be a surplus there of money paying off the mortgage, and what's left over goes to you. Remember, you're going to pay taxes on that as well. But the alternative would be that you can't get a loan if your credit isn't there for whatever reason, and then you lose the house. So that other option is to sell the home. Yeah, Randy.
Would you have to pay taxes on an inheritance if you sold it in a certain period of time, Lee? Do you know?
No, not if it's under the inheritance limit, which is quite high. So chances are no.
Like $6.5 million or something.
It's a lot. Yeah, I think it's 11 million now.
11 million.
It's been an interesting show. It certainly went fast. Our thanks, of course, to Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, 645-0736. Lee Harris, Legal Counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow, 649-7964. You can reach me, Bob Sokoler, to help you sell your home, or if you're looking to buy a home, I'd love to meet with you. Free, no obligation. We can talk about pricing, the future of what's happening and how you get from here to there. Again, free, no obligation. Call me 376-5483, or start the process by going to bobsellslouisville.com, all one word. We're out of time, folks. See you next Sunday right here on News Radio 840 WHAS.